safety, and of course our health. Because when we in the institute we talk about health, safety, environment, and we say that our health and our safety are tied to the environment.
Yeah.
And the environment must be secure and safe enough for us to be healthy. Because health is not about physical well-being alone. It's a holistic thing. When people are emotionally traumatized, when people are living in fear, when people cannot sleep without waking up suddenly to check whether somebody is forcing their door open, then that is what we need, a situation where people can relax. And that is why government has to establish agencies to carry out the constitutional role, which is to provide security and welfare. Agencies like the police, the army, the navy, the air force, the NDLA, the EFCC. So this corruption issue, the establishment of EFCC was to help the system. We live in a world where the weak must die for the strong to survive.
But the strong will eventually die too.
Yes, during that process of the strong killing the weak, the strong is doing that with an erroneous impression that they are not part of death.
You know, I think that's one reason they keep stealing, because because I find it unfathomable that you're stealing X millions for what?
Million.
Okay, billions now. It's no longer millions. And thinking that you will never die.
Yeah.
You will never die. But if you go out, say Ikoyi Cemetery, vaults and garden, you'll find a lot of rich people who have been laid there. Is it that we don't learn the lessons of life, or people just feel that it will happen to me?
When the mind is not developed, because that's one of the problems we are talking about. Human beings can only behave according to the pattern. We are just being molded. And if we are poured into a casing, we only take the shape of that case. The government, the people, the society, every society determines and deserves the type of leadership it has.
Here, I agree.
Yes. So until the people say no, that thing will persist. If a child jumps on the table in the parlor and start playing there, and parents are watching, that child will grow up playing on the table and seeing it as a normal thing.
Yeah.
And then if a child goes to school and steals other people's biros and pencils and comes home with those things, and parents look at it and say, oh, you have more pencils now, that's good, you now have, but you didn't buy pencil for him, but now he has 5.
He's an illustrious son.
Yes, he's doing very well. And then he grows up as a child, becomes a big boy, and becomes a man, and maybe he can even become a commissioner, become a pastor, he can be anything, including bishop. But one thing you know is that once he started as a yeye boy, he will become a yeye man.
Yeye man.
And from yeye man, he can become a yeye commissioner, can be a yeye governor, can be yeye. In fact, the yeye will be growing with him.
Because I always say that today's leader was yesterday's follower. And those are the type of people you find, you see a lot of them online, where a 17-year-old is giving the mother or father a car, and they're not asking where they got the money from. I'm not talking about those who are doing very legit things online. There are people who are working legitimately, some who bought into the Bitcoin system before, some who understand what remote work is all about, and they're earning in dollars in this poor setting we're in. There are people like that. There are the ones that parents know, say, no, not be that one that they do. But they happily collect these things and do Thanksgiving on top.
Yes, because society is interested in praising acquisition without asking the means and method
of the acquisition.
So everybody wants to be, you see, there's this bad aspect. Greed. Greed is about something meant for 5. One want to hold it all. And that greed starts from even as a child. You can have 5 children and you put 5 pieces of yam in a plate for them to eat together. My father used to tell us that the reason why we should eat together from one plate as children was so that we learn how to love one another and share and agree that each person has right to take from there. You know, when you start, when you start separating their plates, that's how their minds will be separated.
This thing you've said now reminds me of some things that some parents still do till today, and I think it's one of the things that would have taught a lot of young Nigerians or Nigerians how to be covetous, how to be self-centered, how to be selfish when they're eating, especially with their mothers. The mama not agree with they call them it. There may be 3, but the mother may cut one tiny piece for them. Then the mama will keep all the rest, go chop them. The pikin they look up. It may look like they say they are training the child.
Yes, that's.
But they do not know they are damaging these children to look for how to get to a position where they too will take this, nearly everything, and just give tiny to the weaker person.
Yes. In my family now, the Wagu family, we just lost our matriarch. She died at the age of 98.
Oh, she tried you.
Yes. And then,
celebration of life.
Yes. There was an upbringing she introduced, which we grew up with, where you must respect somebody who is even 1 month older than you, and you don't just call the person by the name. And we grew up in that manner. And then they used to put food, if it's eba, it will be put in a big tray with your initial on it. You know, everybody come to take your own, and it's the same size.
The same size.
Yeah. So everybody come to take their own. So you don't take 2. You don't take your own and another person's own.
What is that teaching? Be content with yours.
Yes. So, and then we also had time where we could sit together, eat rice from a sort of tray.
You know that Christmas kind of
Yes.
thing. Then they'll not put meat on top, not put spoons around it.
And somebody will feel that he's not fast enough like others. So he now lays hand and take the chicken lap. You know, so everybody can abandon the remaining rice and follow it. And get him. So it is all about controlling the excesses of the human nature. At that level, you see, that is serious training. But we never knew it until later in life. We started realizing that these things had real impact on the formative stages of our early life.
Yeah. This person now who's the owner in quotes, the owner of the 700 plus, I'm sure it's that type of person. Maybe saw the mother will cut small, give them, the mother will collect everything. Because I stand by that. I'm not talking about this one.
Yeah.
You see how that is enlightenment, right? This person is enlightened about the way of life. Check it. Maybe your mom didn't go to university.
She was a head teacher. She's been a real educationist.
She made it to the university and all that.
Yes.
Great. Okay, now maybe some of these moms didn't even make it to the primary school, secondary school, but they understood how life works. And they use that to train the children. While we have a lot of people who've been educated, ministers, this and that, they lack enlightenment about the way of life.
Why is it so?
Why?
You see, in traditional environment, because we all come from somewhere within our communities. We had tradition, we had culture, and we had people. We had folk tales. Those folk tales, they used to use that to train children.
The tortoise never got away with anything.
No, and the tortoise never represented a young man in any story. It was always an elder because he would play tricks. And so they used to teach us that when a child or some children were staying at home when their parents left for a farm, and the parents left one big snail and a small piece of yam, and said, you roast this yam and this snail, and then take a little palm oil and eat for your, when you are hungry, you do that, and then, but don't roast the snail first. And they now told us that story that the children, because they wanted to eat meat, they decided to roast the snail first. So when they roasted the snail brought out the liquid, the slime that put off the fire.
They were hungry.
And they remained, couldn't eat the snail, couldn't roast the yam. Till their parents came back, they suffered it. So these things were all part. Till today in my life, I still use it to tell my children stories. This was in the formative stages. In community, we used to sit down and tell tales. Folks will gather and listen to parents. These things were meant to guide and direct the growth of these children. They tell you the consequence of greed when somebody took what belongs to everybody. And today, society is eulogizing greed. Somebody takes everybody's thing, and they will tell you that the person was smart. They're very smart. He has outsmarted you. Is he supposed to outsmart you? And so those are the things society is suffering today. And when we look at why crime, because the inequality, of course, society exists in strata.
Yeah.
People should be able to enjoy based on what they can acquire legitimately. We have lazy people, we have hardworking people. But when lazy people sit down and admire good things, not to work out good things, that is where you see the problems of today. And the question is the government going to spend more money building more prison yards?
What have they even achieved as for correction with the ones that they have right now?
They call it correctional facility, the way they put people to correct them. But people go there, come out and become more dangerous.
Let me tell you what happens sometimes. It just passed through my head now. It's like you are arrested maybe for stealing, right? Not you. Let me say it the way we say it in Nigeria. Your enemy was arrested for stealing, right? And you get into the correctional center, you will see somebody who will correct the mistake you made that made them to catch you. So you don't come out.
They come
more
out
hardened.
Yes, because
more techniques.
They now create. Somebody told us that they created the 11th commandment,
which is
thou shalt not be caught.
Tᴡɪᴛᴛᴇʀ You know, we've left ISPO. We've been talking about this thing that is a major challenge, to our safety as a people, because it is this greed that will make you want to, you have a contract to build a house, you would use less of the materials, you have even standard of the food you're making, you would use less and just break protocols so that you make more profit. And it all affects us. We're in the season now, the Yuletide, and a lot of things are going to still resurface that could endanger the safety of everything. And so that's why we just took a little detour to have a quick recap of that major discovery that EFCC just shared with us. And they said part of every investigation that they do, immediately they start asset tracing. And this asset tracing had led to the single biggest find that the EFCC has made so far. The national president of ISPON is with us, and we've been looking at this together. We're going to be moving now to talk about ISPON, and even if we do not finish it today, another time, he definitely will come. There are a lot of other aspects we'll be looking at. Engineer Timothy Chimezie-Iweagu is our guest, and I said we'll be looking at safety beyond the surface.
Yes.
What is the deeper part of safety? And from ISPON's perspective, what are we talking about when we're looking at safety?
You see, when we're looking at safety, we're looking at the actions, measures of different types that can be taken or put in place to protect things of value. Now, the main thing of value is the human being. If a bomb explodes at the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, CNN may never report it, except it affects human lives. Maybe the crew of a ship going through that water. If they blow up a very serious weapon at the middle of the Sahara Desert, it may never be mentioned if it did not affect human beings. The most important single factor in the entire management process is the human resource. The human being is the center of safety, health, safety, and environment. So from the perspective of Ispon, looking at safety, we are concerned about people at home, living at home safely. People at work, staying at work safely. People on the road, they are also safe enough. Now, if you go by dictionary definition of safety, it appears too trivialized when they say the absence of harm. Most dictionaries will just tell you safety is the absence of harm. Now, so how absent can harm be? Now, the whole human environment is overloaded with harmful things.
Even we could be
harmful
to ourselves.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And sometimes you hear of there's one medical name where
autoimmune diseases.
Yes.
When you are killing yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So it happens. Nature has made safety part of it, because in the human body we have an isotope of sodium that is radioactive, that is in the body, but it has not killed anybody, because the body system is like a chemical laboratory. So it has been there without harm, because the nature itself designed it that the harmful things can stay there, but the whole system will interact with the harmful thing without letting it harm anything. So, because they have their duties. If we have drivers on the road, we have vehicles on the road. A vehicle is made up of systems. Driving that vehicle means you must drive it safely. And then to drive it safely means that the systems that make up that vehicle, the steering system, the electrical system, the brake system, and then the transmission system, these are systems.
And they must be functioning.
They must be functioning. The fuel system, the fuel that enters your tank must be taken into the engine, the cylinders of the internal combustion engine, to produce power that will propel the vehicle. And that power must be transmitted through the transmission system. So now these are systems. The same way the human society, we look at safety and say these things must be done safely. If you don't do them safely, then the repercussion will be that you will lose time, you will lose health, you will get injured, you can get ill, you can get sick in the process. So these things are about control measures, precautionary measures, preventive measures. And you cannot start preventing what you do not know. So you must have identified hazards. Those things that can cause illness, cause injuries, are called hazards. That's the simple word. A hazard, the word hazard is the same thing as the word danger. So when we say something is dangerous, in safety profession we say it's hazardous. So a safety professional starts his journey into safety profession by getting used to or understanding hazard identification.
Okay, let's take a quick pause there. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM, and this is the recap, long form, the Cordelia Oatmeal recap, where we get to take major issues, run through them quickly so you get a full grasp of whatever they are in a nutshell. Today we've taken a look at one or two things. Now we're taking a look at safety from the perspective of Ispon. Legislatively, Ispon is in charge of dealing with things that has to do with safety professionals, and so on. We'll share more with you. I have Joseph Olorunṣọ here with me. I'm Cordelia Ogbe, and the national president of Ispon is also our guest for today. Sandra Mompola. Sandra is working beautifully with us too, Joseph.
Yeah. So the question I want to ask, the objective of establishing Ispon.
Yes, the institute was established actually on the 19th day of May 2014. The objective includes
Carry on.
the objectives include getting people trained so as to prepare them to work safely. If people are not trained, they will not know how to handle certain things. Remember that prior to the days of Industrial Revolution, a lot of work was done manually. So human beings incurred a lot of pains and injuries and illnesses due to work and the method of doing work. So the objective of the institute was include to train people so that they will be able to do things safely. And the objective of the institute is also to give certification to those who are so trained. The objective includes to also advise or direct employers of labor on the qualifications to be acquired by those who want to work or get employed as safety professionals. Generally speaking, the institute has functions, powers, objectives under the Act. And this, the aim, the objective of the institute primarily is to make sure that the first schedule of the Constitution, which gives government the duty, the primary duty of ensuring security and welfare of the people, is achieved. The government is to provide security and welfare, and this is part of the way the government will achieve that constitutional duty by establishing agencies, departments, ministries to carry out certain functions that will complement the totality of that constitutional duty of government. That is why the institute is established by an act of government. This act of government, initially the institute was not chartered, and we struggled to get it chartered. That charter status was like giving us the teeth to bite. And then the act says the institute shall regulate safety management in both the public and private sectors of the economy of Federal Republic of Nigeria, in collaboration with relevant agencies of government. Now, which agency is relevant is now determined by our own objective. Because if we are to go into training of people, we should look for the agency that is relevant in that aspect.
That's right.
If we are to go into advising employers on the qualification of persons, we know the agency that will be relevant in that aspect, because you'll be surprised that a lot of people have fake certificates of safety and they are in employment.
Fake certificate of everything, and some are even leaders in places you can't imagine, and some you can't even find their certificates. It's unfortunate, but that is how it is right now. And it now brings me to something about Ispon's Act of 2014, and I quote that any person qualified in an engineering discipline, occupational health sciences, environmental sciences, or other scientist or specialist in a related discipline with an acceptable qualification, who has acquired knowledge in the practice of safety management and whose name is in the register of the institute. So that is a safety professional,
yes.
and so on. This is English. Oh. I just read it now. It sounded like I was preparing for examination.
Yes.
In normal people English, please break these professionals down so
Good.
we'll know the people who are under health, environment, and so on.
Yes. You see, we live in a society that has developed the appetite for titles in the mind of their people. That is why when you say we want, you see a group of people and you say share them into two groups, the tall people and short people.
Why must you talk to us?
No. and you say tall people, short people, eh? And when you come back, you are surprised. You needed two groups. And you now see 6. Say, well, how manage? They say, no. Among these tall people, another group separated themselves, say they are
very
they
tall.
Are very tall. The another group from that very tall people say, no, they are giants. So now there are 3 already on that category. Among the short, you see another group.
That say we are short.
Where the other people are short. This one.
There's some 괊ᴜᴜ.
They are stunted. You know? So they have all that type of categories. So that is why you see the law says Institute of Safety Professionals to regulate safety management in both the public and private sectors of the economy. Now, we start hearing Institution of Safety Engineers. You get the point? Institution of Environmental Safety, you know. Whatever safety you represent, whether it's safety of spirits, you have to come to Iɣsᴛ. Safety, like I said, has to do with preventing harm. And for you to prevent harm, you must understand what will cause harm.
Okay.
So now they have said there that people from engineering, sciences, you know, and so on and so forth, who have also been trained, because some of them, you can read engineering. Engineering will teach you how to do certain things. There's an aspect of engineering that teaches you about workshop safety. Some people have practiced engineering for 40 years without losing a finger. Some just within their first year, they lost 3 fingers in the workshop. It's about safety.
Okay, let me come in here. So we're looking at a case of somebody maybe working in a factory. You've had situations where there are some people working in some of these weird companies here in Nigeria where they go in, they shut them in, right? They lock them in, they don't let them out. And we've had people from such factories, they've lost arms, they've lost fingers, and some of them are owned by citizens of a particular country. I'm not going to name them now.
Yes.
Are we saying now that some of those companies did not have proper trainings in place for their people? Or is it that those people themselves were not cognizant of the fact that there should be safety for the staff?
We say injuries and illnesses, accidents, and so on are due to human factors or situational factors or environmental factors.
No, say that again.
That
Human factors.
human factors, situational factors, and environmental factors.
Human factor that is caused by the person, by
Yes,
human being.
being.
Situation,
Yes.
something, a situation just led to it.
Yes.
Then environmental could just be that maybe something natural,
Natural, yes.
like a landslide and all that. Okay.
Yes. Now, you must figure these 3 aspects, those factors that can lead to accidents. But accidents are things of everyday life. And we cannot live without accidents because of the imperfection of man on the aspect of human factor. So even when the thing is traced to situational, there's the hand of human. When it comes to environmental, there's hand of human.
Okay, I'll stop again. Like in Spain recently, they were quite upset with their leaders that warning signals maybe did not come out early enough, and after the major flooding they had, the leaders didn't come visiting early enough. Even though that was something natural, situational that happened, or environmental that happened, they are still seeing a human error
Exactly.
in everything.
Now, if you watch your television and you see meteorological institute or agency telling you that there will be heavy storm, thunderstorm, serious rain, downpour tomorrow, and they just said tomorrow will be wet and stormy, but in the morning as you woke up, because you saw it on the news, you just open your window, no rain,
Sunshine.
the sunshine, and you just say, these people, I think they say rain will fall. Then you left home without umbrella, and before you stand 5 minutes at the bus stop, heavy rain in the midst of sunshine, and you say, see me wahala, which kind of rain be this? But it was said, human factors, either by negligence, failure to give instruction, and failure to take instruction, all part of it. So the information did not say rain must start by 1 o'clock. To be forewarned is to be forearmed. So it's good that you have your umbrella and rain did not fall, than you didn't have the umbrella and rain fell. So do you know that your weight, your body weight, you want to cross a path, a gutter or so, and there's a plank, you should be able to look at that plank and determine whether it can carry your weight. Even animal, dog, if they come there, they will stop and look at that. If that plank is not reliable, they will try to leap over the gutter. But a human being will come and step on it freely, believing that the people who put it must have measured everybody's weight.
Or they didn't know what they were doing.
Or they don't, they didn't know what they were doing. It stands there and the thing collapses and he finds himself sitting inside the gutter.
Na devil.
And he said, which kind of devil be this?
Na devil.
So you know whether the devil is the person that broke the plank or the plank itself.
Maybe the devil by that time was very busy in Afghanistan.
Yes.
Or even,
where the devil had to do more serious job.
Or in the ocean.
Imagine.
Or blaming, so that means the human factor in that situation had led to that disaster.
Exactly. And now, looking at that human factor too, those who put that plank, if they actually meant well, they're supposed to check the average weight of people and put the strength of that plank. Should be able to take that. So these are all issues. That's why we are talking of people from engineering, pure sciences, and all this coming into safety profession. Because if you don't factor safety into these things, because safety and security are incorporated in any system from the design and construction stages.
Even in our own homes.
Yes. You can imagine in homes today, to prove that you have money, you can buy the best of the tiles. You know how many people have broken their hands and legs and head?
And even died.
And died.
That's true. I know there are even very simple safety tips people would miss in their own homes. For instance, you're frying something and the frying pan is just sitting there. The handle of the frying pan is now sticking out towards you. That is one of the first things we learned as children, that don't do that. Push the handle inward, because when it's outwardly placed, you by yourself can push that frying pan and the oil will pour on you.
Yes.
Those simple things people do not even...
Like if you want to give somebody a knife in the kitchen or anywhere, don't hold the head of the knife and point the other sharp edge or the pointed one.
I have a song for that. Murder, you roads. You want to kill the person.
Okay, yes. So it's good you hold the
head.
The
sharp part and give the person the head.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these things are basic, very basic. But they need to be taught.
Do they still teach all these very basic ones in school? Does Iirsᴛ take it upon itself sometimes to go around and carry out enlightenment campaigns, teach people basic safety rules.
Yes, the issue of going round, the institute has done within the limits of its resources. Because they say if wishes were horses.
Even me, I'll be flying by now.
So the institute has never, for once, received any budgetary allocation from government, any subvention, any grant from government. Members of the institute pay their dues. Then those of them who are experts in their fields, because it's called Institute of Safety Professionals. So professionals from different angles, whether maritime, aviation, construction, civil engineering, they come together.
So people can just randomly come and join
Yes.
as individuals, not
Yes.
say corporate entities.
No,
Individuals.
Individuals. But the law says every company must have a safety officer. Now, if a company doesn't have a safety officer, how is it going to implement the content of its safety policy?
True that.
Because the organogram must indicate that you have a safety officer. And you must show where the safety officer reports to. Is there any impediment to his direct access to the CEO? Even in the military, those in intelligence department, they often have unrestricted communication line to the hierarchy. Because if you allow process to delay information, information has certain characteristics like timeliness, correctness, completeness. So if I give you half information, that may even mislead you.
And if you give me too late?
If I give you too late, it would have been stale, it would have been useless. Maybe you needed to do some preparation to counter what measures or put some countermeasures. So these are issues that we look at. So the issue of safety professional at a corporate environment is very paramount. That is why the Act, if you look at the offenses and penalties under the Act, there's penalty for the individual, there's penalty for a company. Yes. Some persons will ask us, are you supposed to regulate company? What is the company all about? Company is a corporate citizen. It is supposed to have some policy guidelines within its system. And if you have finance policy of a company, will it be handled by a doctor? Will it not be handled by a finance expert? So how can you now have a safety policy and
you leave it with HR just
and
like
yes,
that?
you say it's handled by HR. It's handled by facility manager. A facility manager is a facility manager.
To manage the facility.
Yes,
itself.
and the facility manager is supposed to come and get some aspect of safety training. Otherwise, he will still be watching that facility collapse. It's not enough that you patched the facility because there was a crack, but you had to find out whether the crack is from the foundation or is just somewhere.
Okay. All right. That's a good place. We're almost wrapping up. But Joseph, finally.
So this is time for shopping and enjoyment. That's those that have money, unlike me.
Oh, shake me.
So what would be your advice as we fry our rice, fry our chicken, travel here and there, and my time is equally here?
Yeah, yes. I know about the traveling and all that. Was it a couple of days ago? A transport line, the whole vehicle kidnapped with passengers and everybody there. I'm still waiting to hear the story so far, how far it has gone. So what would you say to people this period?
It is sad that in the last administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, we're told that there will be cameras, there will be drones,
lights.
People have been kidnapped. Kidnappers have been collecting money. ransom. We even got to know that kidnappers even started building estate in Niger Republic. Yes. Now, Bureau of Statistics, they would have been able by now to tell us, just like the Americans will tell you how much left their shores to Nigeria through remittances by Nigerians to their homes. So we should at least know whether it's official or unofficial remittances from kidnapped people to kidnappers and what the kidnappers did with the money. There are a lot of things. It looks as if the government must beef up that area of security. People must be able to travel freely, arrive destination. It will not cost the government anything to also have vehicles that will carry security people and travel up and down the highways.
Not the ones that are just there collecting bribes and so on, stopping every vehicle and
you know what happened
money.
Recently?
Yeah.
Some police, overzealous police officers broke the windscreen of
and they were made to pay.
Yeah, the people for the first time accountability was enforced without going through the judiciary.
Where did they see the money, sir? To pay?
Some people still collect change.
I remember they go 1 more minute. Finally, the quick tips for the season.
Yes.
In a minute.
Now this is Harmattan. Harmattan season when the northeast trade wind is passing through the west coast of Africa. Dryness, even the human hair. You know the hair of humans.
That's the natural one,
The
not
natural,
the one straight one.
even the straight one, they are all dangerous at this point because when it is dry, there's what we call static electricity. It can cause fire.
Wow.
You can just rub your hair over a piece of paper and you see spark. So people should be careful. Don't burn bush if you are not going to stand there to control the fire. Fire can be very dangerous when it is not controlled. Then people driving should not be in a hurry to reach destinations. That is, most accidents start the first 30 minutes of the journey and the last 30 minutes of the journey. Because they want to get home fast. They are already close to home. They just want to get that. They become, they tell us that tortoise was inside a pit.
Latrine.
The day they want to remove it, he said they should hurry up. That he doesn't like to stay inside this type of place. But it has been there.
Okay.
So that is the issue. Everybody must be careful. Drivers must make sure that their tires, their brakes are in order. It's very important. If you are moving a vehicle that cannot stop within your determined or predetermined stopping distance, then it is as dangerous. If you are too close to a vehicle, it's not good if you are driving.
Okay. Mr. President, sir, we must do this again before the Yuletide proper for us to run through these tips. And I won't be rushing it the way we've just rushed it. So maybe sometime next week or the other, as long as you have some time for us, we'd like to run through this again as a full show. Thank you so much for being on the recap with us this week. Thank you. And this is the meeting. The debut on radio. It's been online since. So thank you so much for being with us.
It's quite my pleasure. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We've been speaking with the national president of the Institute of Safety Professionals of Nigeria, ISPON, Engineer Tᴡɪᴛᴛᴇʀ Mᴜɪᴜ. I've been here with Joseph Folarunsho. Thank you, Joe. Your last line in 10 seconds.
In 10 seconds, I'm trying to see. Let me check the shoe that can help me to trek to Abuja. I want to occupy one of those rooms. If you are looking for me next week, I will send you the address in one.
I did tell you, Sandra Mobola. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Till then, do follow on socials. Is at Cordelia Obe. You can get to see a clip or two from this later on, and maybe from tomorrow we'll throw the lines open so we can talk, and we may just have an LGA chair with us. We'll let you know so you can share with them if you have a challenge in your area. Take care. I'm Cordelia. I think I said it before, but I can still say it again. Cordelia Obe. Now bye bye you.